You're listening to the Power Agent Blogcast, empowering agents to elevate their business to the next level.
Challenges are just a guide, leading you, don't run and hide. You've got the heart, you've got the drive, feel it pound, you're alive, Power Agent.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. If you are leading a real estate brokerage right now, well, I guarantee you've had a few sleepless nights lately. We are seeing just unprecedented turbulence in the industry. You've got the major NAR lawsuits, the rapid shift in buyer-broker compensation rules, and honestly, a public perception of commissions that is, well, more skeptical than ever before. It really feels like we're steering a ship directly into a Category 5 storm.
It does, yeah. But, I think that challenge provides a huge opportunity. There's that powerful quote, often tied to Franklin D. Roosevelt, calm seas never made a skilled sailor. If we take that to heart, then this current environment, it isn't a disaster. It's the proving ground. This is the moment for brokers to become those master navigators we've read about in the sources.
I like that framing. Yeah, we can't actually stop the wind or the waves, can we? But we can absolutely control the quality of the vessel.
Yeah.
And the skill of the crew.
Exactly. So our mission in this deep dive is incredibly focused. We aren't trying to control the storm itself. Okay. Yeah. We are giving you the blueprint, pulled straight from, high-performing industry leaders for building a stronger ship from the inside out. We've basically synthesized a framework based on 3 key proactive areas that really separate the resilient brokerages from, well, everyone else.
And those are?
Cutting-edge training, airtight documentation, and transparent communication.
Okay, so if you implement this framework, you're not just reacting to the headlines week by week.
Not at all.
You're actually future-proofing your business. This is the pathway, really, to keeping your agents steady, informed, and crucially, legally protected in this shifting landscape. Let's start right there with that foundation, training. Okay, so when most brokerages think of training, it's usually about boosting revenue, right? Sales scripts, lead gen.
The usual suspects.
Yeah, and the sources we looked at really highlight this massive common mistake. Training often focuses almost exclusively on those sales skills and practically ignored legal awareness. We see training as a revenue generator, not
a protective measure.
Right.
And that's the strategic oversight that honestly costs firms millions.
How so?
Well, if you look at where the biggest legal threats actually come from, they rarely come from deliberate bad actors trying to defraud people.
Okay.
The real threats, they come from uninformed actions. It's the agent who, maybe unknowingly, crosses a compliance line. Or the agent who just assumes, oh, everyone does it this way.
Or maybe mistakes an office guideline for an actual state law.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
That happens all the time. So the risk is less about that one rogue agent, the bad apple.
Right.
And much more about a sort of systematic, maybe even well-intentioned ignorance across the team.
Okay, but let me push back on that for just a second. Brokerage has already put significant resources into professional development, right? Time, money.
Sure they do.
So isn't asking agents to spend all this extra time on legal literacy just taking away from critical revenue-generating stuff like prospecting?
Yeah.
How do you justify that time sink? It feels like a drag on business.
That's a totally valid question, but I think it's a false economy. The mindset shift we really need is to treat training explicitly as risk prevention.
Okay.
Like the source material says so clearly, education isn't expensive, ignorance is. Just think about the cost of one single lawsuit that stems from, say, a simple lack of clarity on compensation.
Yeah.
That one event, it wipes out the training budget for a decade, easily.
Okay, point taken. I'm sold on the why. So what does this proactive legal literacy curriculum actually look like in practice?
Well, it has to go way beyond just, reading regulations aloud. Agents have to become absolute experts in buyer-broker agreements and compensation clarity. Full stop.
Meaning
they need to be able to explain that whole who pays who and why conversation with total confidence, with precision, and crucially, with zero hesitation.
Right. That shifts the whole conversation, doesn't it? From feeling defensive to being professional and compliant.
Exactly. It reframes it entirely.
What else needs to be in that curriculum?
Okay, next. Deep dives into disclosures. But not just the theories, right? You need to use real case studies. Show the real-world dollar cost, the reputational damage of a lack of transparency. Agents need to see the tangible loss that can come from even an honest mistake.
Make it real.
Make it real. And maybe most critical for building agent confidence, scenario simulations. You absolutely need role-playing workshops for those high-pressure moments.
Like what?
Like, what does an agent actually say when a buyer just flat out refuses to sign a buyer-broker agreement?
Ooh, yeah, that's a tough one.
Or how do they professionally handle a seller who's questioning the commission split mid-transaction? You have to practice those.
Those real-time simulations, that's where the training really sticks, I imagine, turns knowledge into actual competence.
Precisely. And one more thing.
Here.
Don't forget the digital world. We need crystal clear digital communication standards.
Texts, emails, DMs.
All of it. Train agents specifically on what they absolutely should not put in writing in those informal channels. Because that informal chat, it's fully admissible in court or arbitration.
And agents often treat it way too casual.
Way too casually. It's a huge blind spot.
Okay, so let's say the training is done, agents feel equipped. How do we make sure those new compliant behaviors actually stick? Where do they tend to drop the ball after leaving the classroom?
They drop the ball when they fall back on memory or when they revert to those old, loose habits. And that's exactly why we moved directly to the second pillar, documentation.
Okay.
Because in the realm of legal defense, there is one absolute undeniable truth. The rule of the legal world is documentation wins. Period. Every single time.
I hear you, but documentation can feel like it slows everything down, right?
Yeah.
If we start mandating template use for everything, centralizing every single email and text requiring extra sign-offs, agents are going to feel that administrative drag.
Mm-hmm.
How do we build these airtight systems without just grinding their speed and efficiency to a halt? Isn't there a risk of overcorrecting?
Look, we have to stop building systems based on faulty human memory and start building systems based on verifiable technology, relying on, oh yeah, I told him that on the phone, or having loosely organized paper files. That's basically leaving the door wide open for trouble.
So it's about the system, not just the act of writing something down occasionally.
Exactly. A strong brokerage is built on systems that are consistent, verifiable, and repeatable, not just good intentions.
Okay, let's get down to brass tacks then. What practical systems do brokers need to really bulletproof their transaction files?
All right, first, mandatory standards. You absolutely must have templates and checklists built right into your CRM or transaction management system for every key interaction.
Like the initial consult, listing presentation, offer submission.
Yes, all of it. Consistency eliminates those small loopholes that can grow into massive liabilities later on. Second, you have to centralize file storage.
Cloud-based, secure.
Secure cloud-based, yes. But here's the critical part. The system must timestamp and log every single update automatically.
Why is just having the files stored not enough? What does that timestamp specifically protect against?
It protects you from the inevitable dispute that crops up months later about when a piece of information was actually shared or which version of a disclosure form was presented.
Yeah, version control.
Huge. We recently saw a case study where a lack of version control cost a brokerage tens of thousands. Why? An agent accidentally used a form that was just 2 months out of date.
Wow, an honest mistake.
A totally honest mistake. But the liability was absolutely real because the brokerage couldn't prove the agent had used the most recent mandated language at that specific time. The timestamp log would have saved them.
So quality control is just paramount here, checks and balances.
It is. Which leads to the next point. Audit. Regularly. This is like preventative maintenance for your legal health. Appoint a compliance coordinator or just conduct random monthly spot checks on transaction files.
To find the gaps before they become liabilities.
Exactly. Identify and close those gaps before they blow up. And all of this brings us back to that golden rule, the one that protects everyone involved.
The legal gold standard you mentioned.
Yes. If there's one single phrase you need to plaster on every agent's computer monitor, maybe even tattoo on their eyelids.
Uh-huh. Okay, maybe not that far.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
It's this. If it's not in writing, it didn't happen. That one simple rule encourages agents to document everything, even quick clarifications after a phone call. Details of a verbal agreement. Get it down.
And that doesn't just shield the brokerage from a lawsuit?
No. It protects the agent's integrity, their credibility, and ultimately it protects their income when some kind of dispute arises later. It proves they did their job correctly.
Makes sense. But, you know, even with perfectly trained agents and meticulous documentation, if the client doesn't fully understand what they're signing or why they're paying a certain fee, that confusion itself feels like the starting point for the next wave of complaints.
Bingo.
Which leads us right into that final pillar, communication.
That's such a critical link. The source material we reviewed highlights this really counterintuitive fact. Clients very rarely file complaints because of intentional malicious wrongdoing, by an agent.
Really?
Yeah. More often they file complaints because they simply felt misled or ignored or just profoundly confused during the process. The underlying problem wasn't the final transaction details. It was the breakdown in communication along the way.
So, proactive, clear communication.
Yeah.
That itself becomes a form of risk management. It's about managing expectations through open dialogue, not just legal form.
Absolutely. Think of clarity as risk management.
Yeah.
And leaders, brokers, team leads, they absolutely must cultivate a communication-first culture. If you want your agents to communicate clearly with clients about, say, complex new compensation structures.
You first have to be transparent and approachable with them about those changes.
Exactly. You have to model it. Leaders set the tone for the whole organization.
Okay, so what are the concrete strategies then for agents to really master this communication piece as a protective shield?
Well, first, we need firm internal rules around responsiveness. For instance, implementing strict reply plus record rules. Every single client question, no matter how small, must receive a clear, timely answer.
And that answer gets documented. Back to pillar 2.
Always. It all connects. Furthermore, agents need to master the power of pre-framing.
Pre-framing, explain that.
Don't wait for a tricky issue or an unexpected fee to suddenly appear on a document and cause alarm. Explain potential challenges or costs before they happen, proactively.
Ah, okay, like saying, now, when we get to the closing statement, you might notice the specific fee outlined here. I want to explain up front why that's a standard part of the XYZ process and the value you're receiving for it. Something like that.
Exactly like that. That kind of proactive communication anticipates defensiveness. It turns potential conflicts into moments of transparent conversation and builds trust.
Instead of putting the client on the back foot feeling surprised or tricked.
Right. And here's maybe the most difficult strategy for many high-performing, confident agents. Normalize admitting uncertainty.
That feels counterintuitive, doesn't it? Doesn't that make the agent look, well, incompetent if they don't have the answer immediately on the spot?
You'd think so, but actually it's quite the opposite. Guessing incorrectly in a moment of pressure, that looks careless, maybe even negligent. And that's far more damaging long-term than looking cautious.
Okay.
It is always, always better for an agent to tell a client, that's a very specific legal nuance. Let me double-check the precise contract wording on that and get back to you this afternoon with a documented answer, rather than winging it.
And potentially giving bad advice that becomes a liability.
Precisely. That honesty saying, let me confirm that for you, it actually builds immense trust. It shows diligence.
That's really the key takeaway right there, isn't it? That kind of honest, proactive communication diffuses tension, it builds real trust, and it reinforces professionalism at every single level. This whole approach, clarity in training, docs and talk, that's how you truly protect the people you lead. Hashtag outro, wow. This has been a really necessary, practical deep dive into building brokerage resilience. If you are out there navigating the current changes sweeping across the industry, just remember the 3 pillars we've hammered home today. Build your foundation with strong training that really prioritizes legal literacy.
Not just sales scripts.
Right. Then reinforce those good behaviors with mandatory, systematic documentation.
Make it routine.
And finally, strengthen every single relationship, agent to broker, agent to client, through proactive, transparent communication.
Yeah, this internal focus, it's really the only way to build genuine strength against all the external noise and those shifting industry standards we're seeing. The final thought I'd leave brokers with is this. Look, you cannot control the weather, but you absolutely can build better shelter. The true power of your leadership isn't just measured in how well you help agents sell properties. It's measured in how well you protect the people you lead. That's the ultimate responsibility.
A powerful point to end on. And as we close out this deep dive, we want to leave you, the listener, with one final reflection drawn straight from the source material we examined today. Given that those unintentional, uninformed actions pose perhaps the biggest legal threats to your brokerage, how much of your current professional development budget is actually dedicated to legal literacy versus pure sales strategy?
Good question.
And is that balance truly protecting you and your agents sufficiently in today's climate? Something to chew on until our next deep dive.